Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Jan Sewing Solutions. Now today I'm going to show you how to make a pattern from this meter of sort of like a interfacing type of stiff. You can use fabric to make this pattern, and we're going to be using this pattern for multiple of uses. So we're going to start with making one gully, one panel, and from that one panel we're going to create the basic full outfit. So this is going to be a frock with a bodice. Okay, so in the past what we've done is we've done frocks where we've actually done the full panel galidars, perhaps not with that many pieces. So this is going to have a width care of 6.5 yards. There's going to be multiple gullies, multiple pieces that are going to be joined. So at the offset, what we're going to do is we're going to start with measuring 7 inches from the side, and the 7 inches we're going to do it from both the sides and half that 7 inches to 3.5 and put a mark there, and on the other side as well half it and put a 3.5 inch mark, and then we're just going to do a straight line meeting that 3.5 point, because this is going to be our pattern, so we want it as accurate as possible. Okay, so measuring down from the top, we want approximately 8 inches down on both sides. Well, actually we want it in the center one, so okay. And then this, you want it we want to make this panel approximately 1.5 inches, so 3/4 of an inch. I think if we go on centimeters, we will make this 4 centimeters, not 4 centimeters, 4. Okay, and that we're going to have a straight line on the one side, about the width of this, a little bit less than the width of this ruler, and on the other side. And then this piece, we're just going to blend that in with the 8 inches down. So what this is doing is, this is going to be the main panel that all our cutting is going to be later on based on. So we've got the upper portion, this is the center line of it, this is the grain of the fabric is going to be, and here this is 8 inches. The width of this is 1.5 inches, and the length of this is 40 inches, and the width at the bottom is 7 inches. Okay, so that is our main panel, and we're going to cut away and we're going to save this. So the bulk of our panels are going to be based on this cutting of this panel, and they're going to be obviously connected, leaving it only slightly less than an inch. And we're not really concerned about how many panels we're going to join, because the more the merrier. If we end up having an extra panel, we're going to be prepared for it, and that's sort of one panel, and this is this multiple of this one panel that's going to be used. So this is the main layout of the frock. Okay, so now we're going to go on to create the bodice part. Okay, the bodice part is a little bit complicated because it's going to be like a princess cut type of a bodice. I'm going to give you a little bit of a lowdown on what it is first, so that when I'm cutting these out, it'll give you an idea. So this piece is the back. It's got the shape, and it's going to have a further, because this is, we're going to cut out from a pattern, and then above it we're going to add a further net. So that's going to be for the back, and then this is going to be the front. This is the center of the front, and we're going to have 2 of these that are going to create like the bust, like you know, the fitted look fit. Okay, so in total we're going to cut 3 pieces identical to these. The way you're going to cut those 3 pieces is you obviously want some measurements of your own, and first of all what you need to do is really do a diagram of something like this. A diagram something like this. So what you have on the diagram is you've got the length of your kalidar, which is, this is the one that we've already cut, and then what you're seeing, these little dotty lines, is the multiple of panels that we're going to be joining. Now on the top is the bodice, what I've just described, and it's going to be like in a 2-piece. So you want to take your waist measurements, and we're going to make it slightly bigger, and then we're going to shape it later on. So we're going to go on to like cutting these pieces. So do a rough diagram and take down the dimensions, and then you want to transfer those dimensions onto the pattern itself. Okay, so from this we're going to start off by cutting out the pattern. We'll do the back first. So we're going to cut out similar to this, and what we have is for this particular one I've got 17 inches. 17 inches on the waist, and I've got 19 inches on the chest area. So it's the 19 inches that I want to base this on. So I'm going to sort of do like a box, like about 10 inches lengthwise. So just a box like, and then we're going to cut out from within this box, and that'll make it easier to sort of define what we're doing. So the half of this, if we half this area of 19, we've got 9.5. So center it at 9.5, and then from that center point you want to measure 8.5 inches out on both sides, and 5 inches above want to do a line on both the sides, and then this line you want to meet it up with that line. So on both the sides you're going to trim away the excess, and you're going to have like a straight line meeting up with. The upper chest area, you can measure it on yourself. In my case I'm going to do it 14 inches. So 14 inches from the center, which is about here, so 7 inches on either side we're going to mark off. And also the actual length of this is 9 inches, so it's going to be here. So this is going to be shaped and met up at that point. And from the center we want this 5 inches up, and we want that meeting up on both the sides. Now you can do one side and turn it over and do the identical on the other side. We're not really, half is what we want. So just doing it like this absolutely accurately is a little bit difficult. What you do is you do the one side accurately, and if it goes slightly not according to shape, don't worry about it. We can cut into this later on and shape it more once we're on. So that's sort of like the back area that we want. Now we want for the front, there's going to be two, there are, even to the back, there's two portions to this. What you've got to cut out over here is going to be another piece that's going to go, because this we're going to cut in a fine net, but we're going to have another piece, so we can use the existing cutout layout to further this up to the armhole. And we're using the same. The only thing we're going to do is we're slightly going to extend this because we've got to leave enough seam allowance. So we're going to cut on the other side this time. And this is like a and then just fold it over and cut an identical. So what's going to happen is this is an additional piece that's going to go on top of this, and once this is attached, and if it's any excess there, we'll trim away once this is attached. We don't want it less, but we don't mind it more. Even if it's longer on the shoulder and we need to shape the whole of it around, we can sort of come back to that and do. I would rather cut this slightly wider. So this is for the back. So now I'm going to go on to cutting the front. We'll turn this around and we'll cut that from this side. Now there's two portions that we need to cut. One is just going to be the one that's needed, and then the other one is going to, we're going to require a slightly, well, two pieces identical. What we're going to do is we're going to half this and cut it in half. It's a lot easier to mark out and do it in half. Okay, so then we're going to take our measurements, and we need this 7 inches, but since 7 is divided by 2, so we're going to do this 3/4, and we're going to mark that out. The width on top of the shoulder is going to be approximately 7 inches wide, and again we're going to just mark that off. Now the length of this piece, the height of this piece is 9 inches, so we're going to measure, my guesswork was right, that's 9 inches, and this is sort of going approximately 5 inches up, and then that's going to be blended with that. And then and then this is going to be shaped like about 5 inches, 6 inches, about 6 inches of the height, and we're going to blend that in at an angle with that and just cut away. Now again, if it's slightly lengthy, it's better to have it slightly longer than shorter, and there's going to be additional piece that's going to be added for, I think, the only thing that I might need to shape. Now the other thing that you can do is place it against yourself on the chest area and make sure, because that part there is actually going on towards breaking away towards the shoulder area. Okay, the only other thing I think that requires is actually slightly tightening, maybe slightly lessening around here. Okay, that looks perfectly fine. Now we're going to cut the bosom bit. That's going to give the shape of the bust. So again, for that, that's your mark point. You can place this and you can actually copy this to this, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut it slightly larger than this and we're going to shape it. To create the bust-like shape, what you need is on the waist, you want it narrowing down, and you want this portion, so you want it at least an inch taking off from the bottom here. So the widest point that you want is this area, which is the point of the bust, and then this you want it shaping back so that it gives like a fitted look, and sort of, so that bust area is really the widest part. Now the dimensions for this are, you've got the height, which is about approximately 5 inches, and then because basically you've got to marry this off with this, so that portion has got to fit around this area, and it's got to create like a bulging effect so that there's sufficient room for the bust. Now depending on your size, you would make this piece more. If you've got a nice thin slim waist, you would even taper it even more on this area. If you've got a big bust. If you haven't, if you're fairly small busted, then you would make that less, and you know, this cup area you would need to keep that quite small. And then bearing in mind we're going to leave this quite wide and later on adjust it to size. So if you're trying to fix that onto that, you can see that when that's connected, you're going to get like a bust-like effect, because it's this area, there is a gap here, like a dart-like gap, which once connected is going to give more room. Now this, once these are all connected, is sort of going to give you how much of a waistline you've got. Now if you are obviously if you're a larger size, then you may need to, this measurement should be a bust to bust measurement. If you're larger, then you would increase that by perhaps half an inch on either side, and also this you would increase it. If you've got a very heavy bust, you would also increase it in this area. And basically that's it. So what you have is you will be cutting 2 pieces of this, 1 of this, and then the only thing we've got left is really just the sleeve and the top portion. And now for the top portion we can use, you know, we'll cut a smaller, we'll cut our own. That's for the front. Now we're going to use this for the front. This is the actual one that's fold this back over, and we're going to use this for the front. So mark that out about half an inch. Shoulder, shoulder area is not enough. Now we're not going to cut the neck. I've just sort of like roughly drawn it. I'm going to cut out the ruff. Take a look at that. And this is going to come out on both the sides, but once this is collected, we're going to lay out and trim away the excesses and so on, and then we're hopefully going to design the neck once we've attached all these pieces. So this piece is basically the offcut of what, when we design this, the offcut, we'll be using it exactly to that. We're just extending it on the sides. Lengthwise, this is approximately 6 inches. That's the measurement of the shoulder. This is going to be cut to size both from the outer sides and the insides. Basically, at the moment, what we want is a basic template, an outer template of what we're going to cut into size later on. So that is the gully and the portions of the dress. Now the only other thing that we're going to do is, whilst we're at it, we're going to cut a template for a sleeve as well. Now we don't have to do like a full sleeve. What we'll do is like a 3/4 inch sleeve, and then if we want to full sleeve. So the sleeve, this is the cup of the sleeve, and the cut, we want it nicely fitted, so the length of from the cap to where the cut is going to occur is approximately 5 inches, straightened off for a couple of inches, and then blended in with the cut of the shoulder. And that from a meter of fabric, from a meter of fabric, or from a meter of whatever kind of thing you want to use, you can create a full pattern with a little bit left over to experiment to do the necklines with. And if you wanted to create it for a child, what you can do is a small child, you can actually, this is the side one that we've had left out, so what you can do is create like a template from this. So perhaps if I want to create one for Inaya, I can experiment with this and really just create the multiple. And that is a template for Inaya. We can slightly widen it at the bottom if we wanted. or we can join multiple layers and make it from this one size.